Hello everyone, my name is Jamaica Nicole Rosa from BSHM 1103 and I would like to discuss about eliminating hazard and risk in hospitality industry. Hazard versus risk. Hazard refers to a source of potential harm or danger. Risk refers to the possibility that harm or injury might occur when exposed to a hazard.
Shall we have breakfast together?
Hazard industry. What is hazard industry? Hazard. This chapter introduces the basic terms and concepts underlying risk management and describes the well-established methods of quantifying risks. A hazard is an inherent physical or chemical characteristic that has the potential for causing harm to people, property, or the environment, whereas risk is usually defined as the combination of the severity and probability of an event. Hazard identification and risk ranking are part of the risk assessment and risk reduction. C. The example of hazard. What are the example of hazard? Example of hazard. A hazard is something that can cause harm, for example electricity, chemicals, working up a ladder, noise, a keyboard, a bully at work, stress, etc. For example, working alone away from your office can be a hazard. The risk of personal danger may be high. Electric cabling is a hazard. What are the types of hazard? These are the types of hazard. The 6 main categories of hazards are: biological. Biological hazards include viruses, bacteria, insects, animals, etc., that can cause adverse health impacts. For example, mold, blood and other bodily fluids, harmful plants, sewage, dust and vermin. Chemical. Chemical hazards are hazardous substances that can cause harm. These hazards can result in both health and physical impacts, such as skin irritation, respiratory system irritation, blindness, corrosion and explosions. Physical. Physical hazards are environmental factors that can harm an employee without necessarily touching them, including heights, noise, radiation and pressure. Safety. These are hazards that create unsafe working conditions. For example, exposed wires or a damaged carpet might result in a tripping hazard. These are sometimes included under the category of physical hazards. Ergonomic. Ergonomic hazards are a result of physical factors that can result in musculoskeletal injuries. For example, a poor workstation setup in an office, poor posture and manual handling. Psychosocial. Psychosocial hazards include those that can have an adverse effect on an employee's mental health or well-being. For example, sexual harassment, victimization, stress and workplace violence. This is the sample picture of hazard. Risk industry. What is risk industry? Risk, in the travel, restaurant, and lodging industry, also known as hospitality, risk management involves keeping abreast of rapid and often dramatic change, especially as new technologies emerge. Potential risks in the hospitality industry include innovation, safety issues, natural disasters, and reputational risk. Give me an example of risk. Example of the risk. Hospitality is an industry that includes restaurants, hotels, casinos, amusement parks, events, cruises, entertainment, and other tourism-related services. As such, this industry isn't just important to businesses, but also to customers, employees, and economies. What are the types of risk? Types of risk: 7 critical risks facing the hospitality industry. 1. The sharing economy. 2. Continuously changing consumer demands. 3. Shortage of experienced personnel. 4. Consumer perception of risk. 5. Uncertainty in international travel. 6. Guest-focused technology. 7. New regulations. Hazard and risk in hospitality industry. Natural disasters. These include earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, tsunamis and floods, hurricanes and other extreme weather disasters. The Boxing Day tsunami in 2004, which devastated numerous coastal communities in Asia and killed more than 230,000 people, and Hurricane Maria, which devastated several islands in the Caribbean in 2017, are 2 examples of natural disasters. Political issues. Political unrest is common in developing countries, and they often have an impact on tourism. Ethiopia and Nicaragua both experienced political unrest in 2019, which caused other countries to issue travel advisories to their nationals that, in these examples, are still active. Terrorism. Some countries/regions suffer more from terrorist attacks than others. Notable examples include bombings in Sri Lanka and Thailand that deliberately targeted tourists. The 2019 Easter Day bombings in Sri Lanka killed more than 250 people. Thailand has suffered from several terrorist attacks targeted at tourists, including one at a shrine in central Bangkok, which resulted in the deaths of 20 people. Health-related incidents, pandemics and epidemics are the most likely crises. Along with COVID-19, the Ebola epidemic between 2014 and 2016, which affected several West African countries, is a major example in this category. The Ebola epidemic impacted tourism elsewhere in Africa, in countries many thousands of miles away, owing to the misconception that Ebola is in Africa, so Africa has Ebola. In 2014, the Kenya Tourism Federation reported that tourism arrivals had fallen by an estimated 15 to 20%, and in Tanzania, hotel bookings were reported to have dropped by up to 40%. Economic crises. Financial crises often have a significant effect on the tourism industry, such as the global economic crisis in 2008-9, which led to a 4% drop in international tourist arrivals. However, by 2010, tourism had rebounded strongly. The impact of COVID-19 is likely to lead to a further global economic difference between a hazard and a risk? A hazard is something that can cause harm, for example electricity, chemicals, working up a ladder, noise, a keyboard, a bully at work, stress, etc. A risk is the chance, high or low, that any hazard will actually cause somebody harm. For example, working alone away from your office can be a hazard. The risk of personal danger may be high. Electric cabling is a hazard. If it has snagged on a sharp object, the exposed wiring places it in